Okay, so a lot of people in this audience know how the sausage is made and know how movies are made. So I'm curious for you guys, what do you think would surprise everyone in the audience to learn about the making of the film?
Maybe the most surprising thing for us was we were equally as surprised when we showed up in Kentucky and there were plenty of tornadoes and rainstorms and thunderstorms, lightning flashing 100 feet from us. We didn't know that spring was so crazy over there in Kentucky, and it was a wild shoot. I think we started out with a 35-day shoot and ended up with 31 and a half. So that was probably the most surprising thing for me.
Anyone else?
The Kentucky Derby is like a real thing. Derby week is crazy there. We happened to be shooting in the middle of it, and they have the biggest fireworks display in the world outside of like China. It's absolutely insane. Has nothing to do with filmmaking, but I found that very fascinating. No. It's I think the most fascinating thing about this movie was just the. Yeah, I think the weather was the craziest part of it, for sure. It was just like it would be the hot one day and then freezing cold the next day, and there was no ifs, ands about it. So, yeah.
To bear it on the weather, the day I was out there, all of a sudden they just come out and they say, "You've got 10 minutes to get inside," and you're kind of like, "What?" It's like you've got 10 minutes to get inside because something's coming. And you're just like, what? And then you see the local people going, yep. And they just start like going. So you follow them on. We ended up in barns and like all over the place, just kind of taking shelter because and it'll come in and 10 minutes later it's gone, but it's a hell of a storm.
Yeah. The weather was bad sometimes. There was one time we were filming on the farm and we were in the kitchen area for like, I don't know, it was like 3 hours or something. It just came out of nowhere. We got into some deep conversation. That was so long. We were just sitting in that kitchen. But yeah, and I looked out the window and there were like 4 people like huddled under the crafty tent, like holding it down for dear life. I was like,
yeah, the people like Zach and Jason and Mike and what the brothers had and Michelle, just how they managed the weather, and we've all just said that. It was really remarkable because there's a lot of challenges, and the leaders on this team really did a great job.
The craziest thing to me, and just like a testament to how actors work, is the scene where Scott and Chapel have the really intense scene in the parking lot at church, and Scott's character Finney gets beat to death, and Chapel screaming and thrown on the ground. That happened on the second day, or first or second day of the shoot, is my understanding. And so these actors are like snapping into character, doing like one of the most dramatic scenes in the movie on like the first or second day. So they have to show up and be just on point, which is just crazy to me.
I would say, honestly, for me, like no matter what hurdles came at us, and there were many, right? When you're doing independent film, it's a renegade DIY effort, but and the movie, it's got its dark turns. You all saw them, but honestly, like such a wonderful group of collaborators, and everyone came to work every single day with the highest of spirits, ready to win it, and that was really remarkable for us.
Chapel, I have an individual question for you. I believe that this is your first feature, like first movie like this. So I'm curious, what surprised you about being on a movie set that you really didn't expect going in?
well, a lot of things. I had done one day on a TV show before this, so I really did not know like the hours would be that way. I did not know how school would factor into things. I was not going to a very accommodating school at the time, so that was not good. Yeah, I think also just kind of how much you kind of become a family on set. The one thing I had done, you know, I was there for like one day and I filmed like one line and I think I got completely cut out of the show. Like it was just kind of like you show up and then you leave. But here it's like you really get to know the people. You really get to like feel like you're really a part of it. And that was something that I had not experienced beforehand. So.
Question for everyone. When you saw the shooting schedule for each of you, which day were you in like just super excited to film whatever it was? And which day did you have circled in terms of how the F are we going to film this?
I'll start that. I think that's every day is how the heck are we going to film this, honestly. And then this is such a cheater answer, but like honestly, every day I can't wait to shoot that because you had such great people and so many of our wonderful collaborators coming in. Every single day was a dream to shoot, honestly, but every single day was also a nightmare.
I think Chappell and I had that scene at the end of the movie on our first day of filming. So it's always interesting to start with the last moment at the very first shot of the movie. And what else? It was just, it's like I said, it's remarkable how much was accomplished by this team.
Yeah, I'd say the first day, because I had never filmed anything that emotional or that intense ever on a set. So I was so nervous. Like, it was the first day being there, and I was like, man, I really got to prove myself. I really got to do a good job. So, yeah, that was the same thing as you.
I think anything where you read you're gonna get strapped to the hood of a car and driven around. I was like, okay, awesome. I'm probably going to be doing this. Let's see how it goes. And it was, so I was looking, but weirdly I wasn't scared of it. I was very much looking forward to it. Just screaming and crying out for my mother was very exciting to me. And then on the first day, I mean, the very first scene was showing up on set and it's like, you're getting kidnapped by Orlando Bloom. It's like, okay, great. And Garrett made a joke to Orlando, like in between being like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we just like pulled him out by the hair? And Orlando's like, that's a great idea. We should do that. And I was like, okay, we're doing this now. Great. And he's like, just push your head back in me. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a long day. You're going to get a lot of hairs pulled. But so, yeah, my first day was just getting my hair yanked by Orlando Bloom. And you're like, here we go. Here we go. Kentucky. Landed 5 hours ago. Let's do this.
I just got to say, you were fucking awesome.
Yeah, Chappell's amazing, guys. What the hell?
If this is early days for you, wow, that's fantastic. I only had the one day, so that was the hardest day. And then we had storms and lines and gunshots. It's very sad. I also want to say kudos to Alex. Holy shit. They ripped her. Alex played. Was it Tammy? Yeah. Tammy. The junkie in the car. And I'm an actor. You watch this stuff. That was one take, ripping her out of the window and onto the concrete. I hadn't seen that, so I was totally blown away. So that was a lot of fun watching. Yep. And a shout out to my boy James Lafferty. We're partners.
There were 2 days that kind of ring out in my brain. There was one, the scene that Scott and Chappell are talking about with the parking lot melee. That was scheduled to be half a day. We're like, okay, great. We got half a day to shoot this. Things ran over. We ended up having to shoot that in 2 hours. That whole entire melee, when they walk out, car pulls up all the way to when Scott dies. Man, that was rough. But luckily we had, consummate professionals in there. Scott, Chappell, our stunt team, everybody just rose to the occasion. I think that's what Esh was saying earlier. Like, we showed up in some nightmare scenarios at times with scheduling and time and whatnot. And man, everybody just rose to the occasion. Like, everybody came and went 125%. The other thing that comes to mind is when we were shooting those, like that long last action sequence has a lot of people running through corridors and the outside, and Garrett's by the car, and like just coordinating that whole thing was tough. And you're like, okay, we got to make sure this guy lines up with this. And you got this. Now we got a wide shot that kind of shows you perspective and some geography. But we shot like 5 days at that house in that giant melee, and then weather and whatnot, and we lost the location, and we had to go somewhere else because we ran out of time due to weather. And then we shot for a week in a bunch of other locations. We were halfway through that shootout, and we had to come back for a week at the end of the shoot and shoot the rest of the shootout. And it was literally like that scene where it's Kenny and Orlando shooting at each other. That's who we're missing, Kenny. Jesus, Kenny, where are you?
Get up here. Help us remember.
Kenny, you should have just come up. Holy cow. The buck is in the house, people. The buck. Kenny has this amazing shootout and obviously a knife fight with Orlando and many other things. But that hallway shootout in particular, we shot. Well, thank you. I lost half of it. We shot Kenny's side one day. A week later, we shot Orlando's side. And just having to match that up and having to be over the shoulder of one guy and over the shoulder of the other, it was a lot. And luckily, Kenny, consummate professional, again, showed up, remembering everything he could. We're looking back at takes, but trying to do that and capture the energy that we had the first time around was not easy. Those were the two that come to my mind.
Kenny, you should answer this question as well, which is the day that you were super excited for and the day you're like, how the F are we going to do this?
Oh, man. Let's see. Day I was super excited for, obviously, when you see on the call sheet that you get to have a fight scene with Legolas. That's pretty freaking epic. I was stoked about that. But I think day one is always like the most exciting day because, you're meeting new people, you're working with a ton of new people, some that we've worked together with before. And you're looking at the entire schedule thinking, oh my God, we got to do this in what did you say, 35 days? This is amazing. This is going to be a wild ride. And it was all epic, every single moment of it, even through the weather. I had to say the weather, too, because everybody else got to talk about the weather.
Jonathan, I have a question for Jonathan, actually. And this is, if I'm not mistaken, you had a different career prior to getting into writing movies. This is your first script that you wrote and got made. But you have to tell people what you did before this, because I read, could be wrong, that you reported from Air Force One in your past.
Yeah, I was a political reporter in Washington, D.C., for about 10 years before I came out here. And I wrote this script maybe in 2013 or something like that. And producers, my managers, Zach and Jason, found it. And I was looking at my email on the way over here. They found it in 2014 is when they first optioned it and everything. And then just kind of kept, working in Washington, D.C. It was through Obama's second term and Trump's first term. And then finally we got the Nelms Brothers on board and I could move out here and we're sitting here today. So yeah, pretty incredible.
But I want to do a follow-up if you don't mind.
Sure.
Did you actually report from Air Force One?
Yeah. It's called being on pool duty, where you just follow the president around for a day. There's always got to be a reporter with eyes on him. So I'm trying to remember where we went. It was very short. It was a campaign rally in Florida. So just a hop on Air Force One from DC to Florida. That plane's not going down. That thing is as sturdy as they come. It was quite a thing.
Yeah, there's not many people who've been on that plane. I just want to throw that out there. Mm-hmm. So I'm fascinated by the editing process because it's where a movie comes together. So I'm curious for you guys, what was it like when you stepped in the editing room? How did the film change possibly in ways you didn't expect going in?
My brother and I are the editors on the film. We go into so just lose this again. Hello.
Yeah, don't put your hand here.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, maybe that's it. A lot changes. I mean, Jonathan wrote a great script. We shoot the movie, and then, you get into post and you start working on pacing and you start tightening things up. Some scenes start floating around. Some scenes hit the floor. There were some great scenes that hit the floor, which were going to be on the DVD and Blu-ray if anybody wants to purchase a copy. Ash, is there anything in particular? I mean, maybe if we disappeared for about 4 months.
Yeah. I mean, Ian and I's process is that we have two workstations set up facing each other. We'll each edit like scenes 1 through 5 or 5 through 10. And then we'll be like, you done? I'm done. Switch chairs. We each go over it, comb through everything. And then honestly for us, like we look at every second of the footage that's shot, literally from like pre-roll to after you call cut. And we assess every second, every frame.
Don't you also like screen and watch it like a countless number of times?
Yeah, we're masochists like that. Like we'll invite people that hate us. Like we'll invite our friends, our mom. Our mom's the most brutal, but she loves us.
Yeah, I think we did like we do like 5 to 10 people at a time. And at first you're looking for just a general where are we? You get all those, okay, yeah, the arcs are working for me. Okay, the character's working for me. I don't like this guy. Oh, whoops. Okay, you should like that guy. Let's go back and try to figure out why you don't like that guy. It's things like that start kind of popping up. And then, some of those scenes start moving around. Like that one with Tammy in the car. is an interesting one because we actually moved that around quite a bit. And then we had the junkie that we moved just to find the sweet spot of where that could go because it was kind of movable for pacing and to give a little flair of action. And then the junkies in the woods, the guy that falls in the spike pit, that one moved around as well. Even was at the front of the film at one point, just to give you a sense of like danger. But I mean, we ended up, they both tested pretty close. So we decided leaning into the characters.
And for me, it's just always staggering how much you can change a film in the editing process. It's never over. You can just manipulate to the end of time.
Yeah, that's the reason I keep on talking to directors about editing, just because it's everything. So I'm a big fan. Maybe I have some issues with blood and guts. I'm a big fan, and so I love the shot in this of the knees and the bone. And I'm just curious. Again, I have some issues. I'm just curious. How did you debate how many frames to show on that? Was it ever more brutal? You know what I mean? You talk about that.
That scene was always designed to be super brutal. Honestly, it's like it's in the script from the day one incarnation, and it needed to be that turning point for Cash, where it's like, hey, she's got to go. This bee got to go, and we're gonna go take her out. And so for us, it was always gonna be savage. It was always gonna be a shocker. And that honestly, like we would watch Zach and Jason, and when they started squirming too much, we're like, okay, maybe we need to cut a frame or two out.
Yeah, that was one of the funnest things about that scene is just how painful it is to watch, honestly, because it really does set up like, okay, yeah, I'm with Cash, go kill everybody. You know, like, go get him, bud.
I'm curious and whoever wants to answer this one. What is it about this genre, like the revenge thriller, this kind of the stories that I've seen in Kentucky? There's many stories. What is it about the genre that people resonate to, that people keep on coming back to?
For me, it's the ones that I love are the ones that have characters you give a damn about, and they head into these revenge environments, and you really want to see them succeed, or you really want to see them live. So, I mean, that's what we were really focused on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple story. I know Zach and Jason were drawn to it initially. They're big fans of just gritty 70s violent, the Roger Corman movies, Rolling Thunder, Rambo, movies like that. I think they were really drawn through, and it's just the idea of this. Paul Schrader does a lot of these movies, the Man in the Room, and just this idea of a recluse on a collision course with his violent destiny is hopefully pretty timeless.
It's kind of funny. Ian and Esh and I did a podcast a couple weeks ago comparing the Gauntlet to Magnum Force. So we were right back in the 70s, Clint Eastwood insanity. And I think as watching this movie, to all the bad guys, they were all fucking assholes. Good work. Good work. And there's nothing more than being an audience member. We're kind of going, I want that fucking guy. I want him to fuck off. And you want them to get it. And I don't know if that answers your question, but there is a certain kind of like anyone that cuts you off or pisses you off, you're like, ah. And these movies kind of let you get that out without ending up in jail.
I think just people in general have a sense of justice and wanting justice to be served to some degree, just on the day-to-day or in their personal lives or whatever. And so I think when you really set up, like you said, like a bunch of like assholes that you hate, and then you get to put someone on a violent collision course with their own destiny, which is such a great way to put that. Yeah, I think it's also what makes it so fun to play is like I've never gotten to play someone so awful and snivelly, and my goal was like I want him to be a 7-year-old at the end and start as a guy who thinks he's like got it all together, and that is the most fun thing to play is like just someone who you want everyone to be cheering for your death at the end. And so I was like, yes, everyone is so, and when dogs are coming, they're like, yeah, dogs eat him, eat that guy. I'm like, yes. So yeah, success.
The more pain for you, the better for us.
Exactly.
Yeah, on a slightly different note, and I know I'm on the wrong side of the aisle for this part, but the whole idea of family and like the hell that you would go through, what you would do and what you might be capable of to protect your family. And to me, that's what really drew me to this film, and what Cash was going through was, like to think about that. You know, I don't like to think about that, but what would you be capable of for your family, for the people that you love most on this planet? What would you do? And to me, these movies really, they kind of shine a light on that. And I love it.
I think it's interesting too, like the revenge stuff too, but you saw the cheer when the preacher came back because we all thought he was gone. And those are the other moments like, yeah, he made it, he had to.
This is for everyone. And I know some of you only worked a day and stuff like that, but for who wants to answer, when you think on the making of the film and the people you worked with, like what's the memory you'll always take away from this project? You know, what's like a strong, memorable moment from filming, or you know what I mean? Like what will you always remember about the shoot? Besides the weather.
There's definitely a little piece of everybody that's up here, and you know, a lot of people that aren't up here, and a lot of people that were in the post process, and a lot of like the composers, Mono Boys. Freaking amazing job, man. That score is incredible, guys. Thank you. The DP, Johnny Durango, who's not up here, who shot that beautiful film. Yeah, I take a lot of little pieces away from him. I mean, it's probably because Ash and I are involved through the whole process, but yeah, every little piece of the film, pre-production, production, post-production, and now here we are, here, and Magnolia, Collider, like all these people start to come into your lives, and like Chapel said, they become a part of your family. Some people you spend months with, some people you spend weeks with. Yeah, that's one of the things I really love about it is Esh and I write, direct, edit. It's fun to change it up. It's fun to meet different people. It's fun to collaborate with all these people, all these really incredibly creative people that bring 110% of your day. It's a blast.
For me, one of the things that really sticks out is we were really behind the 8 ball at the end of the shoot. We had like 3 days to get a bunch of scenes. And I remember it was like Scott, Orlando, Chapel, all of us running around like our fannies were on fire. And the mantra was, like, I remember it coming us to and go, okay, what are you guys going to cut? And we're like, well, we don't want to cut anything. Do you want to cut anything? Like, absolutely not. And I'm like, all right, well, we're getting everything. And so we were just running from setup to setup like our fannies were on fire, screaming, we're going to get everything. We're getting everything. So that was a really, honestly, like it brings tears to my eyes to think about the crew just all in it, in those moments, trying to make it happen and getting every single frame.
There's like obviously we all said like the things we looked forward to in those big moments, and actually shooting those scenes are really, awesome and fun, and, working with dogs are crazy things that you've never done before. But like, getting peanut butter smeared on you so the dog looks like it's eating you, things like that. But I think weirdly what's so amazing about film in general is that like it's really these tiny minuscule moments that happen. Like I was on the hood of that car on that lawn for so long, and it was like these cold days, and sometimes a setup would mess up, or you'd have to get something else, and it's like, well, you can't unstrap me and strap me back in every single time, so I'm just on the hood of this car. And Garrett, Dillahunt, who's just the most incredible, amazing human on the planet, he's so keen and aware to that kind of stuff. And so what I remember, or what I like when you just asked that, the first thing I remember is like Garrett taking off his big puffy coat because it was freezing outside and just laying it over me and watching out for me. You know what I mean? Because I was freezing on the hood of this car, and I don't want to cause a fuss, or I don't want to do anything. And it's like those tiny moments. It's us looking out for each other because we're all like kids in a sandbox trying to make something together. Essentially, that's what we're doing. We're being, 12 years old again, all with each other going, what the fuck could we make? And can we make it as good as we want it to be? And so it's those little moments, those little beautiful tidbits that stick with me throughout filming.
I guess another one, because it was just a day, but I didn't get to see Esh or Johnny. They had COVID, and the law was they had to be a certain distance away from set. So I was on set with Ian and Michelle, and we'd be like, we'd shoot something and also be like, we're waiting for notes. And I just had this odd feeling that they were out there watching me like a sniper. And it's just another one of those little Nelms Brothers moments that I've had.
Yeah, I think for me, like what you were saying, we were running around like crazy. When I got COVID and I had to go for 2 weeks.
We all got COVID on this thing, guys. That's the moral of the story here.
I got COVID when we were supposed to film at the farm, which was not good. So I remember like when I got back that first day, we had a certain amount of scenes we were supposed to shoot, and then they were like trying to fit in to get me back in as many scenes as it was possible to get me back in. And I was like in one outfit, and then they changed me into the jumper, and I ran to tell them the horse was ready. And then we came back, and then I changed it to another thing, and it just made me feel good that they were willing to go through all that craziness. And then I think also just like what's memorable, like the little things behind the scenes of just like Orlando coming up to me and being like, "Hey, let's run through the scene. Let's like, you know, let's really get this good." And I was just like, dang, I've never thought that someone like you would like want to do that with me. Or like just doing gun training with Andie MacDowell. Like, okay, I'll go to the range with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt really grateful to work with you, Chapel. It was, you know, for me, I knew that this was your first film. So I got the experience of honoring that moment for you and watching you grow. And it was really, I loved being there for you as you had this journey. And it's this first time you've seen the film, and you're phenomenal in it. So congratulations, Chapel. You did it. For me, you know, Kenny's a good buddy of mine. We did a movie a long time ago. Waldo Sanchez is here. It's a beautiful city. I was texting with Orlando on the way over here, and we really did become brothers in every way on this film. And I just have so many memories. And, you know, I used to wait tables in this neighborhood, so it's just so grateful to have the brothers at the helm who are so giving, and such talented people like Johnny and the producers. It was just, I was filled with gratitude for the whole experience, and especially being in that place at that time. That's what I love about making movies.
I would just say just how much luck is involved for any of this to come together. It was like my managers finding the script out of just 1,000 that they'd read on some website. They found it, and then for it to end up somehow getting to the Nelms Brothers, just at the right time when they were looking for something. And then it's just, you know, I mean, a lot of the actors up here, their agents getting it to them, casting directors, you know, taking chances on new talent and everything like that. It's just like sort of a miracle that these things come together at all, and that yeah, this results in this.
Thank you, God. It starts with you, man.
I mean, I'm going to echo a lot of people, but it's the people. I was just looking around, and even before we started, I don't think there's a person here that was a part of this film that I haven't kept in contact with in some way, shape, or form. I mean, even to the crazy guy that played my brother in the film, I still keep in contact with him, if you can believe it. Garrett, Orlando, all of them. We just became so close, and I have an amazing memory with every single person up here, and something that I'll cherish forever. There's nothing like it, like especially movie making. You truly do, like you said, Scott, you become brothers and sisters. And it's crazy. It's fun.
I mean, we get to do pretend for a living. How much better is that?
Oh my gosh. Thank you. It's all good. Chapel, I have another question for you, if you don't mind. So had you seen the Pirates of the Caribbean movies and the Lord of the Rings movies prior to filming? Or was it one of these things where you get cast, Orlando Bloom's in the movie, and like people are like, oh, you need to go watch these like right now?
I had seen Pirates of the Caribbean. I have still only seen half of the first Lord of the Rings movie. Yeah, it's bad. I probably should have done that before coming here.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say
I have nothing against those movies. I really don't. I swear.
when you eventually do watch the Lord of the Rings films, I strongly suggest the extended cuts. They're
okay.
I know that they're longer movies, but they're far better. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, let us give a huge thank you to everyone on stage.
Thank you all so much. It means a mountain to come out tonight. Thank you. Thank you.